Listen-only mode.
Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on service management within the ITIL framework. My name is Vanessa Cardwell. I'm the Marketing Manager here at Network Utilities, and I'm joined this morning by Graham Sharp, Product Manager at ChangeGear.
Hello.
Today's webinar will give you an overview and demo of ChangeGear, an easy-to-use, cost-effective solution providing organisations with central control over IT support and change. So let's quickly have a look through today's agenda. The webinar will last about 35 minutes with an opportunity for you to submit questions. If you do have any questions, please use the question tab to submit these at any stage during the presentation, and we will address all these questions at the end. We'd also like to invite you to contribute to the dialogue today by asking you to submit your answers to a couple of poll questions. And then following the polls, we'll move on to Graham's overview and demo of ChangeGear and close the webinar with your questions. So let's get started straight off with our first poll question. So I'm going to launch that for you now. So you should see that coming up on your screen. So if you could take a second to answer that. When is your organisation planning a project around Service Desk? 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 to 18 months, or not at this time? So I'll just wait a second until the results of those polls come in. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. I'm just going to close that down, and then I'm going to share the results of that poll so you can see what's happening with that. So you should see the results of that poll, and you can see that there is a percentage of you who are actively engaged in planning a project around Service Desk. Some of you not at this time, but those of you who are engaged with that process, we hope to be able to support you in that project, starting of course with today's webinar. So let me close this down now, and I'm going to launch our second poll. Okay, so you should see that on your desktop now. Are you or is your organisation satisfied with your current Service Desk software? Okay, so I'm seeing the results coming of that. I'll just give a couple more seconds for you to submit your responses. Okay, that's great. So I'll just close that down, and I will share the results of that second poll with you now. Okay, so we can see that some results across the board there. Most of you sort of fairly satisfied, a few dissatisfied there. So without further ado, I'd like to now hand over to Graham, who will provide us with an overview and demo of ChangeGear, a comprehensive solution designed to improve operational efficiency and to support business innovation by increasing visibility of the IT infrastructure, minimising downtime and ensuring compliance. So I'll just close the results of that second poll down now and then hand over to Graham.
Okay, thanks very much, Vanessa. Yes, I'm Graham Sharp. I'm going to take you through this demo today. Just to kick off, a little bit about Network Utilities. You can probably see there that we've been around since 1992, so just celebrated our 20-year anniversary. Network Utilities been providing network security, acceleration, compliance and IT management services throughout that time. Recently, you can see we've got the ISO certifications down there, 9001 and 27001. So we're pretty proud of achieving that. With regard to customers, we have a wide range of customers in many sectors of UK business. They include people like BT, Hilton Hotels, Houses of Parliament and Vodafone. So here's an overview of some existing customers. Now with regard to our service management solutions, we have seen a big uptake within our existing customers that we're providing support services and infrastructure services to, and it very much aligns itself with the Network Utilities portfolio. Okay, so here's some of the things that people are saying about us. We've been delivering ChangeGear into the UK for the last 5 years now, and made a big impact in the footprint with regard to Service Desk solutions. It's a Florida-based product, and we've been supporting it in the UK, as I say, for the last 5 years. and have a number of customers who are now expanding their business with ChangeGear into sort of international use as well as national use. Okay, so let's kick off with a bit about the structure of ChangeGear. It's modular. Obviously that has a lot of advantages with regard to particular functionality and services that the organisation wants to uptake. So we can start off basically with a service desk, and then we can expand that to include service catalogue, CMDB, release management. So with regard to adding, and expanding the solution as your company develops and grows with ITIL, then that's made a lot easier with the integration of the different modules. And you can see those listed there down the left. What we've found, when we're competing with ChangeGear in the UK market is cost of implementation, ease of use. It's always a big impact when we're looking at delivering a service desk into either a mature organisation with regard to their service management, or somebody that's moving from sort of base manual processes, particularly around change, and wanting to automate those processes. So a key thing that we've experienced with ChangeGear is the ease of implementation and keeping that low cost of ownership throughout that transition, and then on to moving it into full production. Okay, just a bit about the workflow processes and the engine behind ChangeGear before we look at the demo. And very much customers want to design their own workflow process for incident, problem, change, and CMDB, etc. So we have the ability at every stage within that process to ensure that we have notification, actions and processes being delivered at each stage of that workflow. So however that request is received into the system, there's going to be a level of automation and interaction with the engineers to enable a fast resolution and ensuring that stakeholders and interested parties are kept informed throughout that whole process. So you can see there's a number of activities going on, and so that makes it very configurable to meet a particular company's culture. Okay, so just before the demo, just some benefits. As I said before, we have a short implementation window. This is normally around 2 weeks, 10 working days, within the project implementation. Cost effective. So with regard to cost of implementation, cost of use, and the annual maintenance and support, we've demonstrated that is, from a market perspective, extremely competitive. Integration with existing applications, so we ship with APIs and we have our own data utility components that enable integration into existing data hubs and existing web services. An ITIL alignment. ChangeGear was developed to be aligned with ITIL from day one. It very much from the ground up on the latest .NET platform, and we've been awarded the Pink Elephant processes in a number of disciplines within ITIL service management. Okay, so I'm just going to switch over to the product now. So just before we go into a typical sort of process with ChangeGear, I just wanted to touch on the dashboard here. So I'm pretty sure some of you, and we've got a good attendance today, probably visited the show at Earl's Court last week, and there were lots of products on show there. What I experienced is that there's a lot of focus on around metrics and data and reporting, and also the experience of the end user. And very much we've seen that's the way the industry is going, is to keep the cost of the the IT process down by capturing more information and making the user experience better and smoother. So more information is captured and the end user is getting good response and good resolution times. So here's a standard dashboard. These can be designed for a particular engineer or manager with regard to the interest that they have with regard to maybe incidents, problems, assets, etc. They can add their own web parts. So with regard to the graphs that you see and the metrics that you see, they can be quickly customized and published as your personal dashboard. Now, what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to log out as this typical IT user, and I'm going to log in as a requester. So this is loaded a typical end user portal where I've added a number of components on here which sort of relate to the kind of services that I want to offer that end user. So for instance, I might want to offer self-service knowledge, so a level of self-diagnosis can go on to try and resolve the issue. I can put banners and alerts on there with regard to up and coming outages within the system or downtime for a particular service. I can add a service catalog element. So if we want to offer business services or IT services for requesting new hardware or software, then obviously we can catalog that and take that through its own process to deliver to that customer. And at the top here, we've obviously got our incident request process. Now, with regard to how an incident might come into the desk, it can be via this portal. We also have email type requests, or obviously, as I show you, we have a phone user center. So where still it seems a predominant of requests come in by the phone, we have a simple way of dealing with that.
Okay, so is it possible to include routine requests on the self-service portal, like password resets?
Thanks, Vanessa, for that. Yes, so routine requests. As you can see down the left here, I've added just some basic ones which enable a user to click on one of those actions, and that will instantly send a templated request to the service desk to enable that password reset to be done, automating information back to the user to confirm what's been done and when it will be done. So where there are common routine type of requests, we can quickly customize those and add those to the self-service portal. What I will add is that we provide all the toolboxes and capability within ChangeGear for these customizations to be done. So there's no need for professional services work to come in and create changes to your portal. So if I go on to report an incident here, what I've done is devised a very simple form to capture the information from Joe user here. Now obviously, if there's more information that your organization requires, could be an asset number, could be a department, that can be incorporated if it's required input from Joe. Otherwise, his profile is going to be captured and that information will be sent through to the service desk. So I'm going to say that CRM issue, no access, sugar seems down. Okay, we can also get them to capture a type of failure. So again, this will be granular with regard to the engineer, but from a request perspective, we can simplify whether it's hardware, software, application access, etc., etc. We can also encourage them, if there's a screenshot that would help, to attach that to the request, and that can be picked up at the other end. So I'm going to submit that particular incident, and you can see it's now been added to Joe's list here, so he's still got the ability to add further information, and also he can see all his active requests. So Joe's quite busy with the service desk at the moment, and he can see what status that particular issue is at. Now, what's also happening in the background is that we are sending out notifications directly back to Joe to confirm that he's being dealt with. We can add a particular engineer who's accepted his ticket, and just give him some comfort that it's being dealt with and he has an active response. Okay, so I'm going to log out of the portal and log in as an engineer. And then I'm going to move over to the incident queue. Now what we're going to be able to see is, here's Joe's incident that's come in. Now straight away we can start to control who's going to pick that up by the certain group that it might go into. And I think Vanessa's got another question here.
Yeah, so can I ask here, what are the options for routing tickets to particular groups or individuals?
Okay, so what we can do in the configuration side of ChangeGear is confirm information about that user, whether they're VIP, what department they're in, what services they have access to, what their history is with regard to incidents and problems, etc. So when Joe requests that incident, we can automatically route it to a particular group, to a particular user, or to a particular skills matrix. So we can pick up words within the subject, we can look at the incident type that's been selected and quickly make sure that goes to the correct queue. As you can see down the left, we've got three types of views. We've got global views for managers who are monitoring all the incidents into the desk. We have particular teams, could be desktop, network, email teams, and we've got my views, which represent tickets that are assigned to that particular user. So if I open up Joe's ticket, we can see a number of bits of information has now been captured. So we can see it's part of the desktop services team. That's who looks after Joe and this particular type of incident. We've set a category and a priority based on the CRM access for this particular person. And we can see obviously the details that Joe's added from the portal. Now I can either accept this or assign it. If I accept this ticket, what I've also done is picked up an SLA. So based on this type of impact at this type of priority, we can see that I've put a 4-hour SLA on there and it's recording a due date. So as you've probably seen on the left here, we have an SLA manager, and that's where we can put sort of multiple SLAs in, which are then visible through this SLA tab. So we can see we've got 3 hours 56 minutes left on a 4-hour SLA, and of course we can recalculate that through the workflow dependent on any changes which affect the urgency of that particular incident. Okay, so just moving things along, I can obviously resolve this incident, or if I can't resolve it, I could find a workaround and log a root cause issue, because where I can find an immediate solution to get Joe back working with sugar, what I can't do is identify what caused the problem and the fact that it could still be affecting users. So rather than go through the whole process, I'm just going to demonstrate how I can quickly promote this to either an existing problem within ChangeGear or to a new problem. So if I have visibility here that there is a problem with the sugar server, I can attach this incident to that problem, and then obviously that will be dealt with via the resolution of the problem. I can either close that incident to meet the SLA, and then obviously the problem team will then inform me that the root cause problem has been solved. And again, we can automate that process to update tickets based on the parent-child relationship that we have. So if I created a new problem here, it will now move the workflow into a pending resolution. As an incident desk, I can now close that, and we'll see the problem team is going to pick up a notification that this has come in. So again, if you're not using problem as a standalone service in the organization, you can manage the process with the same team, and it enables you to identify OLAs, internally with regard to how you're managing root cause problems. And of course, as a part of our implementation, we can certainly help you implement that, with our ITIL guys looking at your ambitions around, the service desk process. So again, I can accept that ticket once I've got my mandatory information in. And you can see down the bottom here, we have a related incident which is pending resolution. So all the time, we've got visibility, and we can drill through with ChangeGear, so we can have multiple windows showing the whole related incident and problem process all the way through. Usual features within problem: we can add to a known error database. We have all the search capability, which searches strings within the knowledge base, within existing RFCs, problems and incidents. So we're keeping the engineer, fully informed of any possible support in finding a resolution for this issue. Just to complete the whole process, I could promote. Now I've identified that there is some service required to the server, and that requires promoting to a change request. And I'm sure, as you've seen before, service desk solutions today, yes, we're following the same process of incident, problem and change. We're looking at how they integrate. We're looking at how they automate the resolution process. But what I'm trying to demonstrate here today is the ease of which, you can quickly understand where you are with the ChangeGear sort of views and screens, and the ease of implementing the whole process and ensuring that the information is quickly available to everybody within that process. So we're looking at the change ticket. Let's go and close these, and we move into our change. And now we're looking at a more potentially complex process, because we want to assess risk. We have an approval in there, and we've got possible a number of different tasks that we want to carry out, as a part of this change. So what I'm going to do is complete some mandatory information. We need to upgrade this particular server, and I'm going to submit that for approval. There's my audit box. So there's a full audit trail, so we can see exactly who does what to this ticket and what process it goes through. And we can see that John here, who happens to be the CIO, is the approver, which means that if I'm trying to approve this ticket, it's obviously going to reject me, as I'm not on this list. Being an admin, I'm going to remove him and I'm going to approve this ticket. We can then move into an assign stage and so on and so forth. So as you can see, once you've designed your workflow and you've designed the action buttons, you can quickly enable the ticket to follow, the current culture that you have around your change management process. And Vanessa's got her hand up again.
Yeah. I just wanted to know, is there a change calendar included?
Absolutely. Announcements down here enables quick referencing into the change calendar. So it will take information directly from the ticket and enable its own workflow process, in fact, to see that this can get published. So by going to this announcement portal over here, we can see that certain privileges with regard to logins will allow people to view this. So when they're planning a scheduled change, they can see where it would overlap or possibly impact current changes that are going on. And all the information related to that change is going to be held in the calendar. Okay, I'm only going to briefly touch on the CMDB here because I can see time is ticking away. Now, with regard to our CMDB, very comprehensive, can be populated in a number of ways. We ship with our own agentless scanner, which uses a number of protocols to interrogate all class types of equipment within the network, and that will pull switches, routers, laptops, PCs, servers, whatever you choose, into the CMDB. They can then be assessed for their criticality and their management type, and then we can start building physical relationships, including stakeholders and the level of risk with regard to what that particular piece of infrastructure serves. So just to give you an idea of that, I've got a simple relationship here which I can start to extend. And you can see that there's a number of devices which I've built a relationship to, which lead up to a business service. So here's my corporate data center, here's my firewall, here's my router, and I can obviously control how much information I want to show depending on the size of the mapping for those particular devices. So as a change is raised and a particular CI is attributed to that change, it will start to inform the owner of affected users, groups, business services, risk levels, etc. That will then encourage certain CAB approvals, and that certain information is associated with the change to ensure that it's delivered correctly. Knowledge base, we can import knowledge from existing knowledge base repositories, or you can add on the fly, or you can add knowledge directly from your incident resolution by taking that through a screening process. Survey. We found that this was obviously very prominent at the recent show, where it's important to get a matrix of information back from the user community on how the service desk is performing. We give you all that capability dependent on certain metrics with regard to resolution times, that we can spray that out and get a quick detailed response back of satisfaction levels with particular incidents or in general, and then that can be reported on a monthly or weekly basis to show how IT is performing. Reports, we ship with about 80 reports, as you can see here, but importantly we give the ability to quickly create a report, and then they can be schedulally sent out via email to particular inboxes, which gives a dynamic representation at that point in time of analytics around current ticket status. What we also do for more intricate and chart-based reports, we ship with Crystal. We provide a license for Crystal 2008, and that enables you to interact directly with the database and publish directly from ChangeGear, either on the portal or from the report tab here, a number of different types of reports. Just finally, you've probably seen at the top there that I've got project and facilities. Again, just talking about the flexibility and the ability to expand ChangeGear, beyond sort of basic service desk disciplines. You can take a tabbed module and create a particular function for it from the ground up. So it could be finance, it could be facility management, as we talked about here, project management. So you could interact these with all the other modules within ChangeGear and expand it that way. Okay, I know that was a bit of a helicopter view. As I said before, it's extremely configurable, and what we've found with our existing customers is that they are continually wanting to bring in new processes, new workflow designs, new form designs, etc. And they can basically simply do that through their own toolbox with some telephone support or remote support from us. So again, keeping implementation and ROI down as much as possible. Okay, well, thanks very much, and I'll pass you back to Vanessa.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much indeed, Graham, for that, for your demo and your presentation. We'd now like to round off today's webinar by giving you an opportunity to submit your questions. So if you have any questions on anything that you've seen today on Graham's demo, if you could submit those to us now, and I will field those over to Graham to answer. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds to pop your questions in that question tab box, and then we will answer those. And I can see we've got one already for you here, Graham. So we currently have a service desk in our organisation. What would be the impact of trying to implement a new one in our business? Okay,
Quite a general question there, but obviously, it is of high concern because, change is always going to have an impact in an organisation. What we find is that we can implement ChangeGear alongside the existing service desk. We have the ability to port over information of current users, current active tickets, current CIs, etc., etc. And because we have such a short implementation window, we can very quickly get the pre-production platform up and running alongside and start to enable a smooth transition over. Again, in my experience, there are solutions which are going to take months and months and months to implement. And as I said before, this is one of the key aspects of ChangeGear, is that we can reduce impact and speed up the transition from an existing service desk.
Okay, so we have another question here. Software license management is an important aspect of our business. Will ChangeGear help us manage this more effectively?
Yes, as a part of our agentless scan, we're going to pull in software that's installed on local machines. That can be then disseminated and reported on by organisation, by group, by department. And if an organisation is currently in a SAM process at the moment, where you're using tools to manage entitlement, or you might have some consultancy going on to look at your overall SAM process. And I will add, this is something that that network utilities can help you with. We have trained engineers here with regards to the software asset management process, but certainly it will enable you to have a view of your software installed.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for that, Graham. I think we can see another question come through. I think this will be our last one for today. So how easy is it to customise the forms and workflows? Am I going to be able to do this myself?
Okay, yes. Obviously, because of time, I didn't go into the administration side, but just to give you an idea, I'll show you our incident workflow that I took you through earlier. So here we have a graphical representation of the flow that we used, and we offer a 2-day training as a part of our 10-day implementation, which is going to enable you to understand how to very easily create your own workflow states and the transitions between them. So you can see here in a couple of seconds I've created a state and I've created a transition from that state. So by adding automations to those, you can very quickly build up a powerful process to manage, any intricate type of workflow that you want to use. Also, somebody's asked about forms, and again, very intuitive. I'll go to our incident form that we were looking at earlier. And you'll see we're going to load the active form, which enables us to drag and drop information to and from that form very easily, and the ability to create new fields and drag those new fields directly onto the form. Those fields can be date, numeric, text, or custom controls, with regard to database lookups or hyperlinks, etc., etc. So again, as you can see, we can cut down on any professional service requirements and enable you to manage forms and workflows and automations yourself.
Okay, great. Thanks, Graham, for going through those questions with us. I think we've got a final one here for you. Will this be available to view online at a later date?
Yes, for this particular session it's being recorded, and all of you will get links to that recording so you can have a refresher. And if anybody wants a one-to-one webinar with us just to go through particular areas of interest, then please let us know. I'm pretty sure someone will follow up this with a courtesy call just to see how you found the demonstration today.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Graham, for that. Many thanks to you all for joining the webinar this morning. Please do, as Graham has said, get in touch with the solutions expert from our team if you would like further information on anything you've seen today. And of course, we will follow up with you all and let you know where you can access that recorded webinar link. So we look forward to hearing from you, and thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you.